Reserve duty is much more enjoyable when you know what to expect, so SWAP is here to help. Let's take a look at what you need to know about reporting for a trip. Your contract is in place so that everybody knows the rules and you and scheduling have a shared mental model. On reserve, you'll notice that the contract allows for a 2-hour call out. Although the language says you're supposed to get there as soon as possible, you're never forbidden from using the entire 2 hours. Schedulers operate in a very dynamic environment, and as a result, they will sometimes call and try to get you to accept a call out less than 2 hours. Use good judgment here. Your SWAPA contract is a vital resource block that helps you avoid unnecessary career risk, and a very short call out by scheduling may represent just that. It could be a risk to your attendance record if you end up not being able to make it to the airport on time. It could also be a risk to flight safety, as you might find yourself stuck in that rush mentality attempting to make such a short call out.
Let's review some of the issues related to your call-out obligation. Again, consider the language in 8G1. A reserve pilot must be able to report to the pilot lounge within a maximum of 2 hours from time of notification. Also note that 8G1 allows for reimbursement for close-in parking anytime a reserve pilot is called out for a flight that departs less than 3 hours from time of notification. If you desire close-in parking, make sure to ask the scheduler to note this on your trip in the CWA system. After the trip, turn in your parking receipt to your crew base coordinator for assistance with reimbursement. Let's talk about some other reserve basics. While, of course, you are required to make sure scheduling has a telephone number where you can be reached, you are never obligated to answer the call on a day off. Likewise, you are never required to acknowledge a trip in CWA while you're on a day off. If you are in an area with poor cell phone coverage, it would be wise to give scheduling an additional phone number if you have one. For instance, a landline or the cell phone of somebody else you're with. If in such a situation, it's also wise to contact scheduling and ask them to annotate your board with a comment that says, "Call both numbers when on reserve," or similar. Also, if using the Do Not Disturb feature on your smartphone, make sure to have it configured to allow a call from scheduling to be received. And if you miss a phone call from scheduling while in your wrap window, you are expected to return the call as soon as possible. However, the 2-hour call-out window starts at the time scheduling left the voice message. To add or modify a phone number in CWA, go to Displays, Modify Phone Number. You can update or change phone numbers as often as you like. Your SWAPA contract prohibits what some airlines call ready reserve or airport standby. You must not be called out to the airport merely to sit around the lounge to wait for possible flying. If you find yourself having reported and there is no longer a trip on your board, contact scheduling and coordinate with them. Politely explain that you will be leaving the airport shortly unless you have a new assignment. Verify you are credited with 5 trips for pay for reporting to the airport and subsequent removal of your assignment. If later utilized, the 5 trips for pay is added to the new assignment, and you will receive the greater of 5 trips for pay plus the value of the assignment or duty hour ratio pay starting from the original report time. So ensure that the report time reflects the correct time of your original.
Another situation we'll likely encounter, scheduling may put a trip on your board before your wrap starts, often the day prior to the start of your reserve block. In such cases, you may notice that the trip report time may be as early as the actual start of your reserve wrap window. For example, say you're a PM reserve pilot and the wrap for that bid period starts at 11 a.m. You may see them place a trip on your board with a start time of, say, 11 a.m. Acknowledging that pairing in advance forfeits your 2-hour call-out guarantee and requires you to be at the airport for the new report time, 11 a.m. However, if you don't acknowledge the trip in advance, scheduling cannot require you to be at the airport earlier than 1 p.m. in this example. You are never required to acknowledge a trip before your wrap starts. Early acknowledgement, again, may pose some unnecessary risks as you're now required to be at the airport earlier than necessary. Further, scheduling might even try to contact you the day before to get you to acknowledge a trip, but you are not required to answer the call while off duty. In fact, you may even view the trip in CrewHub Access, even post it for giveaway in the TripTrade giveaway system, but you're still not required to answer the phone or acknowledge the trip in CWA. Remember, even if given a trip that reports much later than the start of your wrap time, you're still required to be able to report to the crew lounge from the start of your wrap. So let's look at an example here. Say you're a reserve pilot with a wrap starting at 11 a.m. Prior to your wrap start, maybe even the day before, you notice ahead of time that scheduling has assigned you a trip with a 3 p.m. start time. This does not relieve you of your reserve obligation. Whether you acknowledge the trip in advance or not, you are still required to be contactable by phone from 11 a.m. and be able to report to the lounge no later than 2 hours after contacted. Another issue on reserve report time, the 2-hour minimum call-out, does not mean 2 hours until departure time. It means 2 hours to get to the pilot lounge, check your personal mailbox, update your EFB, and/or otherwise prepare for the flight. Then you proceed to your aircraft. Again, it does not mean 2 hours until pushback. When scheduling calls you and attempts to put a trip on your board with less than 2 hours notice, if you agree and say you will make pushback time, you may notice scheduling will mark the trip WMP, will make push. You are now responsible for making it to the gate and be able to safely depart by the scheduled push time that you agreed to. This is the risk we talked about earlier. However, if you tell scheduling that you will do your best but will still need the 2 hours to the lounge, you may see the code SWMP for scheduling will make push on your trip. In this case, if you don't make it in time for pushback, it will not be held against you as long as you made every effort to get there as soon as possible.